Hi everyone, Peg O'Sullivan from Tralee Springboard Project here. Today I'm going to bring you Module 6 Part 1 of the Scared Kids programme from Anoka Learning and Dr. David Coleman. And I'm going to look at, in Part 1 today, I'm going to look at helping children to scale their level of anxiety and get you to understand that how you as a role model affect the children's or the teenagers' anxiety levels and creating body awareness. So that the child might be able to manage the anxiety when they know the physical symptoms in their body. So the scaling question. So basically, it's very useful if children have some sort of a guide as to the level of their anxiety. So what works for me when working, especially with teenagers, this can be used with small children as well, is the scaling question. So you would ask them on a scale from 1 to 10. So 10 being really high state of anxiety and 1 being quite relaxed, little to no anxiety. Where would they place themselves? And we can use this number then to see situations where the number might get lower or where the number might get higher. And this method allows the child to judge their own levels of anxiety. So if they're rating the anxiety levels and it's a 9, then what we need to do is look at how can we bring that down to an 8 or maybe even a 7. So Dr. David Coleman states that in order for a child to be able to do any sort of behavioural experiment, which I'll talk to you about that in part 2 of this, but the child would need to be at like a 4 or a 6. So once the child gets on to around a 4 or a 6, this gives us a good guide that they might be ready to maybe look at the anxiety and do a little experiment around challenging that. Again, that's going to be in part 2. So I found in the reading of this module, David Coleman talks about helping to understand or influence or role modelling on anxiety. And it's in a book called The Opposite of Worry by Dr. Lawrence Cohen. He's an American psychologist. And in the book, he talks about chickens. So bear with me. So what he talks about is if a chicken is fearful, the response is to freeze. Now, trust me, I had to Google this because I wasn't sure. But it's true. So a chicken freezes when it's fearful in a response, okay? So it's called tonic immobilization. So it's a fear response and it leads to the chicken freezing, waiting for danger to pass. So the process from going from freezing to unfreezing takes about 2 minutes of being stuck in that freeze position. So if during this time, your chicken number 1 is in his freeze position because there's danger, a second chicken comes along, sees chicken 1 frozen, he thinks, uh-oh, there must be danger, and the second chicken will now also freeze. But the thing is, if a second chicken freezes, the both of them will stay stuck for up to 5 minutes. So when a second chicken comes along and freezes and does the same thing, it actually takes them both longer to unfreeze. So on his own, chicken 1 will stay stuck for 2 minutes, but if joined by another chicken in the same freeze position, they're stuck for longer. However, if this second chicken came along and just chilled out, pecked away, minded his own business, nice and calm, it sends a message to the first chicken that maybe there is no danger after all, and so the first chicken can then unfreeze almost straight away. So that gives a lovely little analogy as to how important our actions are on approaching a child or a teen with anxiety. So if we approach a situation from a very anxious place and, oh my God, what happened? What's wrong? Oh, and we're kind of a little bit out of control ourselves, then we're just adding to their anxiety and they'll stay anxious for longer. So the key is to try and approach it from a very calm and grounded place as the adult. So you might say to the child or the teenager, gosh, you look really anxious right now, but look, do I look anxious or scared? And let's look and see if we can just regulate and do some breathing, and we can talk about the situation then. So approaching it like that, the child sees you're not anxious or scared. That sends a message to them that, well, maybe there isn't any danger, and gives them a little bit of reassurance, and it just allows them to regulate themselves quicker. So when I talk about regulating, and going back to doing the mindfulness, your belly breathing, getting the child to stand on the ground and just feel their feet on the ground, look at you in the eye so you can reassure them. So that goes to show how we as adults have an effect on our children's anxiety. So the calmer you are in approaching it, and it's the same for any adult. If you're approaching an anxious adult about something and you go into a heightened state of anxiety, then the two of you are anxious. But coming at it from a calm place, approaching them from a calm place, maybe even doing some logical work with them, you know. So another way we can help children manage anxiety is actually through physical activity. So we go back to the session within the brain where the brain perceives it's in danger, sends out a signal, fight or flight, and adrenaline pumps through the body. So when the adrenaline is pumping through the body during an anxious state, you may see a child has more hyped up behavior. So this is a physical symptom. And so the use of movement and exercise can help just take the edge off of that. So one of the examples I want to give you is one that we in Springboard would use quite a bit with younger children who attend for group therapy with us. And we get them to shake their sillies out. So this is really good for younger children. So what you get them to do is tell them they need to shake out all of the energy that's in their body. Some of them describe it, if you ask them, like their body goes fizzy. So what we would do is we'd get them to shake out their arms really, really fast, move their head really, really fast, and shake a leg, each leg. And then we also use a method called, it's the stiff tin man, and then going into a floppy teddy. So you'd get the child to tense up their arms, tense up their face, scrunch their face up, really, really squeeze their legs, squeeze everything really, really tight, squeeze, and then flop like a floppy teddy. And you'd get them to relax everything and maybe even flop their head down towards the ground. And then you get them to squeeze everything like a big stiff tin man again, squeeze their face, squeeze their legs, and then let go and flop like a floppy teddy. So that's a really good way. And you can use it with teenagers by saying, look, just squeeze your fist really, 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 really tight and try and hunch your shoulders up into your ears and ball your toes together, and now let everything go. And just what does it feel like to leave everything go? And you might get them to repeat that 2 or 3 times. So that's a really good exercise for helping them to understand the difference between the tension and the relaxation. So I'm going to leave that there for today. So that's your today's session, and I'll do part 2 of that tomorrow, which will be understanding likely ways that a child manages their anxiety and how we might use behavioural experiments. And again, I'll just bring some examples from work that I've used myself. I've used behavioural experiments quite a bit in work, so it might give you an idea of just an example of that. Okay, thanks for listening.